I want to get out of kitchens now, you know, the long hours, the short staffed, the bad equipment, everything just like piles up on you, and loads of places are like that. And then when I finally got to their house, I started unpacking everything and I was like, oh no. I've had customers on their hands and knees wiping the floor.
Oh no, we don't want to see that.
After I've cooked, but before I've even served the dessert.
So, hi Ben, lovely
Hi.
to meet you again.
And it's Heinen.
Heinen, exactly.
Pronouncing that right, yeah.
Wow, actually very few people get it right the first time.
Yeah.
So anyway.
I practiced that yesterday.
I'm super excited to actually meet you again, apart from our very brief encounter, and to actually learn a little bit more about you, your background and your experience.
Yeah.
And I would love to kick it off by just finding out about your story of how did you become a chef?
Well, that's quite a simple one, really. At school, I didn't really know what I was going to do. I was quite average. I didn't really stand out in anything. So
Apart from cooking?
No, not at all. Had no interest in food at all. I was really fussy, actually.
I think that's a good red flag. If someone is fussy, they can become a strong chef.
Maybe. I'm not sure. My mum wasn't the greatest of cooks, God bless her, but she did cook.
Hopefully she doesn't listen to this.
She will, probably. So then it was my dad who suggested to go to college and learn to cook. And his words were, you're always going to need to eat. And so are other people.
Very wise.
And, you know, he said it'd be a good opportunity to travel, and there's always lots of jobs for a chef, even if it's not what you want to do forever.
Yeah.
It's a good starting point when you leave school, I think. So it just went from there, really. And then at college, I began to try different foods that I'd never heard of, that I've never tried, different, you know, things that my mum cooked, but cooked in a different way. And then working in a restaurant, you know, alongside doing the college course, just got me experiencing lots of different things, yeah, and then seeing fresh fish. You know, I've never seen fresh fish before, stuff like that. It just went from there.
And how long did you work in restaurants after college, or obviously during and after college? And when did you start working as a private chef?
So the private chef thing I did about 3 years ago. Well, it was September 2023,
Very specific.
2023.
Okay, so
Yeah.
a year and a bit.
Yeah, so I was just like, I want to get out of kitchens now. You know, the long hours, the short staffed, the bad equipment, everything just like piles up on you. And loads of places are like that. There's not really any kitchens that are fully equipped in all areas. So yeah, I just decided to try the private thing. And at first I thought, you know, I'll have to take on lots of agency work and stuff to fill in the gaps, which I did at first. But no, it quickly picked up. I don't really do much agency work anymore.
So can I just ask and unpack that moment in September 2023 a bit? You mentioned obviously the hours, equipment and everything. Stuff must have added up, like these things must have been continuously bugging you.
Yeah.
And was there an aha moment? Like if you can put yourself back into maybe July, August, September, leading up to that decision of quitting your job.
I think it was about a year I was thinking about this, but many years before that I was thinking, you know, this industry, COVID, Brexit, it really made it extremely difficult for chefs. And it was during that point, I actually thought at loads of different careers. I looked at going into teaching.
Wow.
I looked at joining the police force, fire service, and also job recruitment for chefs. But then, you know, I thought, I don't think any of those things would be me. Because I do love food, I just don't love the situation where you're put in a restaurant where you can't perform at your best because you don't have the equipment, you don't have the hands, you don't have the staff, you don't know who's going to turn up, who's going to call in sick, you don't know what's going to break, you don't know what delivery's not going to come.
Wow,
so many different factors, yeah.
No wonder chefs are so resourceful.
Yeah, thinking on your feet all the time, cling filming things together just to get through a service, sellotape.
Wow.
Yeah, so that was it really.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've always worked in restaurants. I've never had another job. I've always been a chef since I went to college, since I left school.
And then you decided to do private chefing, and you mentioned you were surprised that you didn't have to take on as much agency work as you expected initially.
Yeah, no, initially, yes, there was a bit of, it's a lot of searching for jobs on the Yhangry. There's a lot of messaging, a lot of...
So you immediately in September 2023 joined Yhangry.
Yes.
So how did you find out about the platform?
I can't remember. I think I was just Googling.
And then you joined?
Googling works for private chefs, companies that do that sort of thing, thinking about starting up my own private chef company, and sort of did loads of research into that area. I also started doing a few local markets and stuff, selling street food, donuts, sausage rolls, like Indian, Asian street food and stuff. And did a lot of that. But that didn't really make much money, and I was throwing away a lot of stuff. So I used it as a sort of advertising platform, but didn't really get much work from that either. But there are people that still say, oh, you come into the market, you know, I still do the vegan market in Horsham.
Yeah.
Every couple of months. They do one every Saturday at the end of the month. So I do like that sort of thing, and the social aspect of that as well.
But then, so you found Yhangry, and you also did some agency work to start.
Yeah.
And you mentioned now you do barely any agency work.
Yeah.
Or very little. What was that journey like? Can you talk to me a little bit about how in the past, like 2 years, not yet 2 years, like a bit less than that, but since you became a private chef, how has that journey developed? And obviously there were maybe some teething issues and you started getting more traction. We'd love to learn a little bit more about things that you did and might have changed.
Yeah. Not a lot really. It's pretty much the same as when I started. I'm lucky enough to have quite a large garage. So I use that for some basic prep. I have a fridge, big fridge in there, chest freezer, shelves full of dry stores, you know, sugar, flour, rice, spices, all of that stuff. And then all my pots and pans and equipment on another shelf. So I'm lucky I've got that space, because my kitchen's actually quite small. It's only about double the size of this room. So I do all the cooking in stages and take it out to the garage and store it and then start the next thing. And it's a long day, but I try to do all the prep in one day. Sometimes it's over 2 days. Label it all, put it in the fridge so I know where's it going. If I've got 2 or 3 events, it can be quite tricky because I run out of containers or run out of fridge space. So then I have to think, oh, well, I'll have to prep that at the event and I'll have to arrive a bit earlier. But usually I try to prep most of the stuff
and
at
this
home.
is some of the learnings that you've made over the past.
Yeah, I'd say be prepared for anything. I think you learn that. I learned that from working in like wedding and events catering, where they send you off to like a tent in a field and they're like, cook for 90 people in this one oven. Okay. And you just have to do it. But, you know, take a tin opener, take a bottle opener, take a roll of sellotape, take cling film, foil, every cleaning supply you can think of. An induction hob, I bought one for about 50, 60 quid from Robert Dias. But there has been occasions where I've had to use it because their hob doesn't work or their oven doesn't work or my pan doesn't work on their induction, but it works on my induction. These things happen.
Wow. It's being prepared for any scenario.
Yeah, you don't know what utensils they're going to have. You go to Airbnbs and you open the cupboards and there's just like one mug in there and nothing else. You have to know.
That sounds...
You have to be prepared for what you don't know.
Yeah. Wow, it's like knowing the unknown, or knowing that I don't know what they'll be.
Just be preparing for the worst scenario, because there's nothing you can do once you've driven 2 hours to someone's house and you're there with the ingredients.
Ideally, don't go back without delivering the meal.
No, and you know, take extra portions, take your own salt, take your own oil. All of these things people might forget about at first, in the first few jobs. I've only had one job that I really messed up, where I forgot to take half the menu to their house. So it was like sitting in my garage in the crates, ready to be packed. And in that meal, in those boxes as well, was the vegetarian food for the one vegetarian. So I turned up. I didn't have half their menu. I didn't have the vegetarian food. I was like half an hour late because I was trying to find the house. The address kept taking me to a car park in the middle of nowhere. I had no signals, so I couldn't phone them. I didn't have their phone number. It was like, oh God, this is going to be horrible. And then when I finally got to their house, I started unpacking everything and I was like, oh no. I haven't got this, I haven't got that, I haven't got this. So I had to go and talk to them and they were pretty peed off, but we sorted something out.
How did you sort things out?
Luckily, they had a vegetarian pie in the freezer for the next day.
Wow.
They had some salamis and stuff in the fridge. So I managed to make a sort of starter that almost resembled what they ordered, with salamis. And the main course stuff was all there, the dessert was all there, and I just had to use their vegetarian food they'd prepared for the weekend, for that meal, basically.
And was the client happy in the end?
They were happy with what I produced, yeah, but I think they were a bit disappointed that, you know, it went wrong. But they were also they were quite humble, especially the man, the older gentleman there. You know, he was like, mistakes happen, we get it. It's unfortunate it happened to us, but you know, me and my kids, we've made mistakes before, and they'd be lying if they didn't, because they were like a lot more upset than he was, I think.
His kids,
especially the mother and maybe the daughter. Yeah, they were really pissed.
That's very sad, but it's nice that he was,
you know,
reasonable.
Yeah.
And
so yeah, after that I just triple check everything. I have a checklist like this with all the dishes on the menu, and I tick it so many times
that they're in the
and
car.
then I go through it and tick it again. Yeah,
it seems like an effect of PTSD. It's almost like that one experience is haunting you, but making you better now.
Yeah, exactly. Nice. And it's not so different to what you do in a kitchen as a chef anyway. You have a checklist, you have a job list, you tick it, you look in the fridge, you come in your day off. After having 2 days off, the first thing you do is look in every fridge.
What's there?
In every container, because people forget to write things down. People, you know, that is just what I teach every chef always.
So, would you say that was your worst booking?
Yeah.
Sounds like it.
Yeah, that was the worst. But every other one's been great, been flawless.
Can you pick one booking that was your best booking?
No, I can't. I did think about this question.
Seems to be a really hard one.
Yeah, I couldn't think of a specific booking that's been the best. Or
most enjoyable for you?
No, not
or
really.
One year where you like the client the most?
Not really. I just like the freedom and the conversations you get to have with the clients, you know, when they are just nice people and they're appreciative and they like what you do and they compliment you and they have a chat with you and they might offer you a drink or a tip. These are the nicest things about it, just the conversation aspect. You know, as a chef, you don't really get that with the customers, to see their reaction. You just hear it maybe from a waiter every now and then, you know, compliments to the chef, but that doesn't mean anything really.
Whereas here, like if you're actually interacting one-on-one with the client, you hear what they say, the questions that they ask, how they're interested in how you prepare the food.
Yeah, exactly. And they ask you questions exactly about the recipes or what did you do there because that tastes better than when we do it. You know, and it's nice to put that knowledge onto the customers as well.
Yeah.
You know.
So storytelling seems like something that you do at these events, or does it happen when clients ask, or do you naturally volunteer and give some information about the menu and the dishes that you've created? Yeah, always. You should always be proud of your dishes and be able to explain, you know, the components to them. And more often than not, the customers expect that. They want that. There's sometimes when it's a bit busy and a bit rowdy, I feel a bit uncomfortable and I just kind of try and walk away without saying anything, but because it's just a bit, you feel a bit odd interrupting their conversation. Like, excuse me,
I just want to explain the starter. Thank you. Silence. You know, you feel like a judge. Occasionally, you get the organizer will like tap the glass. Chef Ben wants to say something. It makes you feel so uncomfortable. But it's fine. You know.
But I think it adds a lot to the experience. But
Yeah.
you also need to read the room.
Read the room, exactly.
Yeah.
Like a stag do, they don't really care. And they've
just
got
wanna
the
get
menu
pissed.
there, they know what they're having. But like 8 older people, they're all formally dressed. They want to know every single component, you know, where the meat is from, you know, everything they want to know.
Yeah, I think it really is something that I realized the best chefs on the platform do extremely well. Reading the room and having high EQ. Understanding what the client is feeling, how they could maybe make the client feel more comfortable if they are a little bit stressed for some reason. Maybe it's timing, maybe the guests are running late or early, and just kind of giving them the confidence of, hey, I'm flexible. If your guests are running a bit late, don't worry. Or if they're a bit early, you want me to maybe send one thing out first, you know?
Yeah.
I think that is something that I realized chefs, when they become private chefs, probably don't realize as a necessary skill. It's not just about the cooking and the literally like the preparing of food, but everything around it.
Yeah, no, it's everything. They want, you know, you're coming into their house, so they want you to be respectful. They want you to be clean. They don't want to see mess and clutter everywhere. You know, some people have actually commented to me about that. I was like, just give me 15 minutes. Yeah, it won't look like this in 15, 20 minutes, okay? So, right. Or, you know, I've had customers on their hands and knees wiping the floor.
Oh no, we don't want to see that.
After I've cooked, but before I've even served the dessert. I'm like, just give me
2 minutes.
Give me a while, you know, sit down, enjoy your meal. They're like, no, it's okay. We like doing this. Okay, fair enough.
What would you say has been like the biggest unexpected learning from being a professional chef to becoming a private chef? Things that you didn't expect that you needed to be good at, besides obviously having everything in your car.
Don't know really. I don't like it when guests, when they want to talk on the phone. They want to arrange phone calls. For some reason, I just don't like that.
You don't like talking on the phone
It's trying to fit it in to my routine.
Yeah.
You know, I'm a daddy, so I've got to look after my kid, and then in my spare time, I'm with my family, and then I'm prepping, and then if I'm not prepping, I'm at someone's event. You know,
But when do we
there's
speak
not
to them?
much room for a phone call. It's like, can you just send a message of what you want to talk about? And you know, and I have missed phone calls before, and then I've tried to call people and they haven't answered. It's just, yeah, I don't like that. But
How do you feel about voice messages?
I hate it. I don't know why.
Would you
I just
prefer
forget what I'm talking about halfway through the voice message. It's the same when listening to them. I'm listening to someone's voice message. I'm like, what did they say in the first minute? Now I'm listening to it again.
Oh no.
Yeah.
But would you prefer voice messages over phone calls, or which one's a necessary?
No, I don't think, if they're adamant to take a phone call, then yeah. But, you know, without sounding too rude, most of the time it's a really pointless phone call. They just want to hear your voice. They want that reaction, I guess, that human reaction. They're not getting from typing on the computer. But yeah, I think what they don't realise is that we're talking to so many people about so many events every week, every couple of weeks, sending loads of messages. They're just sending one, and they expect me to remember and respond and answer. And I've got like 30 messages I'm responding to simultaneously, you know.
Yeah.
It can get quite lost. Sometimes I message the wrong person. I'm like, oh, that wasn't for you.
Oh no.
Yeah, so that's the hardest thing, I think, juggling that as well.
How could Yhangry make that easier for you?
Make what easier?
Like juggling the different clients and what different clients
I
want?
don't know really.
That's fine. I just thought if something comes to mind.
No, I don't think there is. It's just when you're talking, like I said, you're talking to so many people, and sometimes the things are so similar. So you think you're talking to the same person because they're ordering the same menu, or it's on the same week or something.
Yeah.
And it can get a bit confusing, but...
So phone calls is the #1 pain point between being a chef in a restaurant and
Yeah, I
becoming a
guess so.
private chef?
But as a chef, you know, you're not really. You don't. I've never really liked phone calls. I'm not that type of person. I just
Yeah.
send a message quickly. I don't. We don't. You know, as chefs, we're not trained to look at our phones.
As much, yeah.
We don't.
Because you're
we
always
don't have
busy.
time to have a phone call.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, if you have a phone call, then it's on your cigarette break when you're
And if you don't smoke,
5
you're
to
not used to
12
those,
and you're
right?
running back in because something's going to overboil or something.
Yeah. Now, one of the things that I've heard some chefs mention as a requirement for their learning when they're becoming private chefs and leaving the restaurant is how to make a profit and how to do their costings. How do you go about pricing your events when you're responding to client inquiries?
Yeah. Well, it's no different to writing a menu for a restaurant, really.
How does that
You know,
how does that work? Talk me through the process of maybe preparing the costing for a particular request.
so
or booking.
most of my menus basically they start at 45 pound a head. But that's for the most simplest things like afternoon teas or in simple Indian or simple Italian or barbecue with simple barbecue ingredients. And then they go up to £150 a head if you want a 7-8 course tasting menu. I explain that to some of the guests. Some of them don't really care. Some of them, they have their budget. You know, if it's unrealistic, I just say, I don't even say sometimes, I just put the quote out. I'm sure the other chefs will put out similar quotes. But yeah, I don't... yeah, so you need to cover your ingredients, you need to cover your travel, you need to cover your time. If you see something that's reduced in the supermarket or wherever you buy your stuff, buy it all and freeze it and pull it out when you need it. You know, if there's a load of herbs and they're going off and they're selling them for cheap or giving them away, just buy
Always
them.
use herbs.
Make a herb oil, make a puree, do something.
Nice.
You know, be clever. Use things on all your menus that can be interchanged. You know, like chutneys and purees and dehydrating things. Things you can make in a batch and you can use for multiple different things. Yeah.
It's really about being quite smart
Using
and
your
savvy.
freezer, yeah, leftovers. You know, you might have cheese gougères to make for one function. You may as well make 100 and freeze them. You're always gonna, you know.
Yeah, and it's a staple on your menu, so you.
But any chef should know this from working in a kitchen. If they've worked in a good, you know, fresh food kitchen,
Yeah.
they should know this sort of thing and be implementing that. But yeah, you know, it's hard because not everyone has a garage like I do. If you only have a small freezer, you can't work like that.
Yeah. So you can only basically prepare for your next event.
Yeah, I imagine
the
some
ability-
people don't even have an extra fridge where they can keep, you know, prepped or blanched stuff.
And you already had the setup when you started?
Yes, I had the space, but I bought the fridge freezer, the pots and pans, the shelves.
Nice.
Yeah, gradually, bit by bit.
As you realize what you need.
Yeah, bit by bit. Probably about £4,000 in the end, in total.
And has it been a worthwhile investment?
Yeah. Yeah.
And how would you compare your earnings as a private chef compared to when you worked in a restaurant?
I say it's comparative to a sous chef or a head chef wage, a low-level head chef wage. I could work more,
As
I
in do more
guess.
private dining bookings?
probably,
Wow.
but I don't need to. I'm quite lucky with a low mortgage, and yeah, we're quite comfortable, really. So I managed to work. So we've got a 15-month-old baby. So my partner managed to have 13 months off maternity leave with me just doing private dining. So, you know, she didn't have to return to work. She had an extra couple of months off, and I still managed to support us both throughout that time.
That's amazing.
So yeah, comfortable.
And you were able to...
Now she's at
spend-
working again, and I should be able to build up my savings again.
Amazing. But that's really great. And I guess you compared it to like a junior or head chef kind of level, and were you before like a head chef before, or are you earning more now as a private chef than you did in your previous role in a restaurant?
I could earn more, I think, if I pushed harder.
Yeah.
If I took 2 or 3 bookings every week.
Yeah. Whereas you're a bit more discerning at the moment.
But I don't think it's entirely possible to fill every week with 2 or 3 bookings. You know, just the way the system works, the way there's lots of bookings for one day, but not for the week after, or it just doesn't suit your needs. It doesn't give you enough money. It's a bit too far away. It's not your style of food, whatever. You know, I've not bothered sending quotes to jobs because of certain reasons like that.
But if we had the perfect requests for those days where you don't have a booking, you could basically earn more and do a couple more bookings.
Yeah, I could probably survive just working Friday, Saturday every week. And then I do my prep on a Thursday, maybe some shopping on a Wednesday, and then have Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and more often than not, Friday, Saturday mornings, family time, day off. So you get more time off, and you're probably earning a bit more here than if you were working for someone else.
That sounds like a great trade-off.
But you have to do your taxes at the end of the year.
That's true. There's a lot, and you have to call clients sometimes.
If you don't earn much, and you spend a lot, then you don't have to pay any taxes.
That's
Which
true.
was me in the first year. I was like, oh, don't have to pay any taxes. I haven't made enough money. This is great.
Fridge freezer got a big dent in the bottom line.
Well, it was. We had a garage fire as well
really?
in March last year.
Right.
So that ruined everything in my garage.
Oh, no.
And I had to buy it all again bit by bit. And I had to relocate my prep to my mum's house. And I used her dining room as a dry store, an equipment store.
She must have been happy.
She was fairly happy, but she didn't realise it would take like 7 months for the garage to be repaired by insurance and stuff.
Probably didn't mention it up front either.
I didn't think that either. It would just be 1 or 2 months. I thought they'd be pretty quick, Mum, don't worry about it. But
Well-
yeah, it was about 7 months there, driving from Horsham to Worthing to prep the events at my mum's house.
Wow.
Store it in her fridge. I had to buy a little fridge as well for her garage.
Yeah. Wow.
I think we need to do a shout out for your mum.
Yeah.
If she does listen to this.
Yeah, and she did all my washing up as well.
Wow.
And she'd rewash it. She'd say it's not good enough and wash it again.
Mrs. Varley.
Mrs. Varley.
Yes.
Yeah. Shout out to Mum for helping me out.
That is super
Otherwise,
lovely.
I would have had to go back into full-time work. I don't think I would have been able to do it without the garage.
Would you be able to go back to working in a restaurant, having had the freedom and all the other benefits of being a private chef?
So at the moment, I'm working for a local country pub on a Sunday because they need the help, and it's quite a nice little place, and it's not too far, and it's a bit of extra cash. And I do miss it sometimes, like the service and stuff, and I would like to go and work in a fine dining place again, maybe as a stage, just to
Upskill.
just to bring that back again, you know. 'Cause
Yeah.
once you're not doing it all the time, you do kind of not lose it, but
The muscle memory kind of fades.
yeah, you kind of lose the, I don't know how to explain, the rhythm, you know. The skills are there, but and you've got the recipes, the methods, whatever, the techniques you've learned before, but they're not,
just a bit rusty.
yeah, they're not instantaneous to you anymore. Whereas
So,
and I'm sure it's changed a bit since when I was cooking in those fine dining kitchens.
yeah, I
A
know.
lot of new things now.
I know actually from some of our chefs that they occasionally will do a stage somewhere to either learn a new cuisine
Yeah.
or to refresh their skills on something, or just because they like a particular restaurant and the style, and to learn behind the scenes how certain things are done, which they then integrate into their private dining,
Yeah.
which is great. Question about some actually behind the scenes inside tricks maybe. What is one piece of kit you couldn't live without? Like the most important...
Sharp knife.
You're not allowed to say knife, that's it.
Oh, okay, fine.
The only one. Okay.
So apart from that...
from your sharp knives, I love my water bath.
Oh.
So I've got one of those portable sticks,
Yeah, it's like for sous vide.
like a circulator, yeah. So it clips onto any container you want. You know, it could be a big plastic, a metal, a small thing, a big whatever. You fill it up with water, set to your temperature you want, and just put things in, especially for the bigger numbers. It's so much easier.
Wow.
Like you get a whole fillet of beef or sirloin,
It's perfect.
whatever it is. You can marinate it in herbs, vacuum seal it. Again, the vacuum sealer, I think it was about 20 quid. It doesn't do liquids, but you can seal a piece of meat with some herbs, a tiny bit of oil and some garlic and stuff
It
in
keeps
it.
it in there super nice, it
Yeah.
goes perfectly.
It you know, it helps mould the shape into the bag, and then when you get to your event, you just plug your water bath in, turn it on, put your beef or whatever in, wait.
Basically like a sous chef.
Yeah, and then when service is away, you just open it up. It's already cooked. You just colour it off. It doesn't need a rest. You just serve it, and it's perfect every time.
Wow.
So that's a good technique. It's also good for putting your purees in or sauces if you're warming something up like that.
Yeah.
You don't want saucepans everywhere or microwave going off all
Much
the time.
cleaner.
Yeah, so just fill them up in bottles or piping bags and just put them in the water bath, the container that it's attached to. Yeah, that's been really handy. Like I said earlier, the induction hob, just in case. You know, I've been to somewhere where they just had 2 rings, so it helped just having that third one, or when they have 2 rings not working on a 6-ring induction,
Yeah.
or yeah, you just got loads of pans, or you want something maybe closer to where you're serving the food, you can keep 2 or 3 saucepans on there hot. Induction pans as well. Buy yourself a set of induction pans, keep them in the boot of your car. Like a saucepan, there's different sizes, frying pans, because they work on anything.
What about kitchen hacks? Is there any particular, I mean, what you said about the water bath as a great piece of equipment sounds like a great hack already. But other than that, is there something that you do that saves you, let's say, a lot of time or effort besides the using the equipment you've recommended?
One hack I love is get 2 ice cream lids, and if you have to cut a load of cherry tomatoes in half, you just fill it with the cherry tomatoes, put the lid on top, and then run your sharp knife through the middle of the tubs, and you've cut about 30 tomatoes in half in one
Oh my god, I need to do that.
one swoop.
I love making tomato salad,
Yeah,
tomato salad.
yeah. And when you open them up, they're nicer, right?
And I'm there every single one.
yeah, no. Get
I'm gonna
2
try this. Thank you
2
so
lids
much.
like that.
Yeah.
Fill it with the tomatoes, press it on, get your knife,
My gosh, that's going to change my life.
and you've made a tomato salad for 5 people in
Literally
5
5 seconds. Gosh, that's gonna
that's
be.
a good
I'm
hack.
gonna-
When I saw someone doing that in a cafe, actually,
Yeah.
and I was like, that's ingenious.
That is ingenious.
Why have I done 15 years and nobody's told me to do this?
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna do that. And
Yeah.
I get to buy 2 tubs of ice cream.
Kitchen hacks. Blanch your vegetables beforehand.
Yeah.
It can take a lot of time.
Otherwise,
Believe
yeah.
it or not.
Yeah.
And it's much easier at home. You can have ice. I have ice packs in the freezer so I can make the water super cold. You go to someone else's house, there's no fridge space, there's no freezer space. Yeah, it's just easier to have it all blanched beforehand.
Wow, lots of amazing insights. So, I mean, imagine if you were to start off now as a private chef, or let's say your friend is becoming a private chef. What's the biggest piece of advice you would give your friend?
Just be prepared.
Be prepared.
So yeah, just be prepared for anything. Like I said earlier, take whatever you think you might need, even if you think they might have it there. Take emergency stuff. Take extra stuff. You never know what could happen. You could drop a piece of fish as you're about to put it on the plate. You know, always bring an extra couple. I mean, you're stuffed if you drop all the fish, obviously. But
Hopefully that doesn't happen.
try not to do that. But yeah, be slow, be careful, because you can't just run to the fridge and get some more and put it on like you can in a restaurant.
Yeah.
You mentioned earlier, like when you first started out, it was quite hard to get the first bookings. But then as soon as you started getting them and you built your profile up, things really started to pick up. So
It does feel difficult at first. You feel a bit like, oh, I'm sending out all these messages and no one's replying. But keep at it, because they will reply, and then, you know, you'll get the people come back to you and go, oh, Chef A and Chef B have offered me this. Can you do anything like that? If you think it's worthwhile, the booking, and you want to secure the booking, then you can reduce your price a little bit or throw in a free canapé or something if you need work that week and it helps. If not, then don't worry about it and just say, no, I can't reduce my price. This is the price. I've got other people wanting this date. Do you want to or not? You just don't feel ashamed of knowing your worth and selling yourself too cheap. But also, if you need money that week and you need the booking and there is no other jobs, don't be afraid of giving them a bit of a deal to get in there. You know, they might be so happy that then they or their friends book you again anyway for something else, which does happen quite a lot. Or they say they're going to.
And you're still waiting for that to come through.
Yeah.
You know, there's a long lead time because mostly organizing
It's normally
people
special occasions,
can
isn't
be
it?
difficult. Yeah. Do you remember anything that helped you go from it was very slow to start to it then became steadier and steadier?
No, I think it's just as you get more reviews, when you complete more jobs.
You build your profile.
Yeah, and it's not hard to get a 5-star review as long as you cook what they expect, you use salt and pepper, you clean up nicely, you serve on time. They already know the menu, and as long as you present it nicer than you think they're going to expect, because they don't have the highest expectations, most people. They don't know what your food's like. They haven't seen hundreds of pictures, they might have seen a handful. And most people understand that you're coming into an alien kitchen with people you don't know, with equipment you don't know. And yeah, so they're just happy that you've done what you've done most of the time.
Do you have a particular chef that you get a lot of inspiration from?
Not really. No, I've had the pleasure of working with some great chefs and some good restaurants. I ran a Michelin star restaurant for 4 years, pretty much on my own, with 16 chefs. We started with 6 chefs. When I left, there was 18 chefs. And we got the Michelin star. The head chef was only there a couple of months before me. So that really helped, just working in my 20s and really getting the knowledge. Otherwise I wouldn't be able to do this now, I guess, you know.
Having seen it all.
Use your 20s to work and learn, and then you can teeter off in your 30s, 40s.
And have a better lifestyle.
Yeah. And then I don't know what I'd want to do later on in life, really. I'm not sure. We might think about moving to a different country, but I don't know. Who knows what the future holds?
I think it's great to have an open mindset like that.
Mm.
I feel like your future might be rife with adventure.
Maybe.
You've cooked for some very famous people. What were those bookings like? I think you've cooked for Adele, Harry Kane.
Oh, this wasn't as a private chef.
Oh.
This was before I was a private chef.
I see, fine.
Yeah.
Did you get to interact with them or?
Yeah, I gave Harry Kane a handshake. He wasn't much of a smiler, but he was a member of the golf club I was cooking in at the time, and he wanted to view the private dining room, which you had to walk through the kitchen to view, and it had a window that looked onto the kitchen. They normally do like cooking lessons in there and stuff. So yeah, I cooked for him quite frequently, but you wouldn't have known.
Fine.
You know, you're just there all the time, having whatever. Yeah. Mary Berry, she was a funny one. She came into Gravetime Manor quite a lot, I think. But she'd never ordered dessert.
Oh.
No, just main course only.
Wow, interesting.
Adele, there was a few famous chefs that came to eat at Gravetime sometimes. They were all at Gravetime, mostly. It's a nice restaurant, lots of people recommend it.
Interesting.
If you've never been, I do recommend it.
I'll put it on my list. So we have 2 closing questions.
2 closing questions.
The first one is, who would be your dream dinner party guest? Who would you love to cook for?
Okay, so this is the one I thought about. And I would love the chance to be able to cook for my grandparents.
That is so
And
sweet.
to show them, you know, because they I can't remember what time, I was in my early 20s, I think, when they died. So that'd be nice to show them how far I've come and how different things are now.
Wow.
That would be lovely.
What would you cook for them?
Oof, don't know. So my dad's side of the family, they ate the same stuff all the time. Like, you know, they thought pasta was foreign, so they wouldn't go near it. They'd never eaten a Chinese or an Indian or anything like that.
Oh my God.
They never left the country. They never took a driving test. They never left the village. You know, they were that sort of people. They're my mum's parents, complete opposite. They loved foie gras, scallops, shellfish, you know, game birds. So yeah, it's very different. I don't know. For my mum's parents, I would cook them the fanciest stuff I can think of. For my dad's parents, I'd probably just cook them steak and chips or something like this.
Can't go wrong.
But something that they would really appreciate,
Yeah,
but
or
really
a
high
nice-
quality.
Yeah, something nice. Beef bourguignon or something, but they'd probably say that was too far.
Oh,
They would.
so nice.
But
Like,
yeah.
that you have such huge contrast in your family.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. What would be your death row meal?
I think it'd have to be cheeses.
Ooh, lots of different kinds.
Yeah, not just one kind. That would be death row. Yeah.
So
that
basically,
would-
like, what would be on your death row cheese platter?
Yeah, everything. I'm not picky with cheeses at all. Everything. Every cheese. Maybe not the ones with like live worms and stuff in them, but
Wow, I've not tried those, but
there's. No, I've not tried them. I've seen them. They are traditional in some countries to have these like live worms that break down the fat in the cheese.
wow. But I think you're
Extremely
probably
dangerous.
meant to eat around those worms, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, you're
just
not-
meant to eat the cheese around them. Yeah,
Yeah, not
It's
actually
still
the
quite
worms.
unsafe because of what they do while
Yeah.
breaking down the fats. But yeah, I think that would be my nice death row meal: cheese, chutneys, and just endless. It just keeps appearing. You know, when you finish a bit.
It's like magically
Yeah.
refilling.
When you take a slice off, it just looks like a brand new block again. It's always at the right temperature.
Perfect.
Cheese platters.
Yeah,
are
the
amazing.
chutney jar's always full, and it's always the one you want with that cheese. You know,
Yeah.
changes flavour for each cheese you plop it on.
That's
That's
amazing.
great.
Well, thank you, Ben.
Yeah.
Really enjoyed speaking with you. And
It's okay.
yeah, thanks for sharing your insights and more information about obviously your journey.
Yeah, just my journey.
Yeah, thanks so much. Really appreciate you coming in.
Good, no worries.
That was